Her friend sent her on a prank blind date. The CEO's response shut everyone up forever. Sienna Park, 30, had always preferred the quiet company of birds and the rustle of leaves to the chatter of parties and social media. She was a wildlife photographer, used to disappearing into forests, chasing sunsets and the perfect shot of a rare bird. But recently, her life had taken an unexpected turn. A video of her tripping over a tree root during a photo shoot went viral. In it, she tumbled awkwardly, landing in a puddle, her camera nearly flying out of her hands. People laughed. Her so-called friends laughed too. And now, that embarrassment had followed her into every corner of her life. So when her phone buzzed with a cheerful message from one of those friends, Laura, always the loudest, most socially ambitious, it was impossible to resist that twinge of doubt. "Hey, Sienna, cheer up. I set you up with someone amazing tonight. Just trust me. It's totally casual." Sienna stared at the message, her stomach twisting. She knew Lara's brand of help all too well. Last time, casual had ended with her humiliated in front of half the photography club. But a small part of her wanted to believe it. Wanted to believe someone could see past the viral video, past the awkwardness. By the time she arrived at the supposed rooftop cafe, she was nervous, tugging at the cuffs of her jacket. She pushed open the door and froze. It wasn't a cafe. Her friends were already hidden behind a pillar, phones in hand, grinning like cats who'd caught the canary. And there in the center of the room was the setup they had arranged, a date meant entirely for laughs. Sienna's chest tightened, her lips pressed into a thin line. Every instinct screamed at her to turn around, to escape before the cameras rolled, before the whispers and giggles began. But she didn't. She inhaled, squared her shoulders, and stepped further inside. If tonight was going to be a nightmare, she was determined it wouldn't define her. The game had begun. Sienna stepped further into the room, her eyes widening in disbelief. The casual rooftop cafe her friends had promised, it was gone. Instead, she was in the middle of an elite tech gala, glass walls revealing the city skyline, chandeliers sparkling above, waiters gliding past with trays of champagne. Everywhere she looked were faces that seemed untouchable. Billionaires in tailored suits, startup founders animatedly pitching ideas, and even a few celebrities mingling effortlessly. Her friends, hidden behind a decorative pillar near the entrance, had their phones out, ready to capture every second. Their grins were cruelly wide. Sienna felt the weight of the entire room pressing down on her. She tugged her camera strap nervously, as if holding onto it could somehow shield her from the glaring eyes of strangers. "Just act natural," she whispered to herself. But natural felt impossible. Every laugh, every polished conversation around her reminded her that she didn't belong here. She wasn't a tech investor or a networking prodigy. She was a wildlife photographer, someone whose comfort zone was a muddy trail in a forest, not champagne flutes and elevator pitches. Then she spotted him, or rather, the person she'd been set up with, Rex, overdressed, confident in an obnoxious way, and already laughing loudly with a group of tech entrepreneurs. Her stomach sank. He was the exact opposite of her. Polished, brash, and used to be in the center of attention. And the worst part? Her friends were still recording. Sienna tried to blend into the background, sliding along the edge of the room, her heart thumping in her chest. Every step felt like she was walking onto a stage where the audience was waiting for her to fail. But deep down, a spark of defiance flickered. She had survived viral humiliation before. She could survive this. Taking a shaky breath, she straightened her back, lifted her chin, and prepared to face the prank head-on. The gala was dazzling, intimidating, and entirely unfamiliar, but Sienna refused to let it break her. Tonight, she would endure, and maybe, just maybe, she would turn their cruel plan on its head. Sienna's stomach twisted as Rex approached. He had been carefully chosen by her so-called friends, a self-proclaimed crypto influencer whose social media was half braggadocio, half chaos. He was overdressed at the gala in a velvet blazer that screamed attention, a gold watch catching the light every time he moved, and a grin that made her gut clench. "Ah, you must be Sienna," he said, his voice loud enough for nearby tables to notice. "The famous photographer who trips over everything. Don't worry. I only agreed to come because your friends insisted you're desperate. Charity work, right? I just hope this isn't too amateur for me. Sienna froze, feeling the warmth rush to her cheeks. She wanted to disappear. Her friends, still hidden behind a pillar, were snickering softly, phones aimed at her like predatory cameras. The thought of this being broadcast for the world to laugh at was unbearable. I'm just here for the evening, she managed, her voice quiet, almost swallowed by the gala's ambient hum. Rex laughed, leaning in as if intimacy excused cruelty. Oh, come on. Relax. Loosen that camera strap. Don't be so uptight. Nobody's impressed by a shy photographer. Shuffling slightly, Sienna tried to focus on anything other than his mocking tone. The sparkling walls, the chandeliers, the brilliant people around her, all blurred into a haze of embarrassment. Every laugh from her friends behind the pillar stabbed her more deeply than Rex's words. But then something in her chest clenched differently. Not shame, not fear, but a tiny, stubborn spark of defiance. She refused to let this define her. Not again. Rex noticed her momentary pause and smirked, clearly pleased. See? That's the look of someone who knows she's out of her depth. It's cute. Cute. That word, meant to belittle, only made her jaw tighten. She straightened her shoulders, tried to breathe through the surge of humiliation. She had faced public mockery before, and she had survived. This would be no different. But just as she braced for the next jab, something shifted. From across the room, a pair of calm, observant eyes had been watching. Someone who wasn't laughing. Someone who didn't see her as a punchline. Her friends? They were still recording. Unaware that the balance of the room had already begun to tilt, Sienna inhaled, her gaze steadying. If tonight was going to be a nightmare, she wouldn't let it crush her entirely. Not here. Not in this room. And somewhere hidden in the crowd, someone had noticed. Sienna's chest tightened as Rex continued, oblivious, or maybe intentionally cruel, to the rising tension around them. She kept her eyes on the floor, her fingers gripping her camera strap like a lifeline, when a quiet presence made her glance up. Across the room, someone had noticed. Adrian Holt. He wasn't part of the prank, wasn't laughing, wasn't checking his phone. He was calm, composed, moving through the crowd with the quiet authority of someone who commanded attention without raising his voice. The kind of presence that made people stop mid-sentence just to watch him pass. CEO of HoltBio, a leading environmental biotech company. Adrian's reputation preceded him, but it wasn't his title that caught Sienna's attention. It was the way his eyes landed on her. Recognition. Concern. He approached slowly, scanning the room until he found her, frozen under Rex's mocking gaze. His tone was soft but firm when he finally spoke. Mississippi Park? Are you all right? The words were simple, but they carried weight. They cut through the snickers, the whispers, the embarrassment, like a lighthouse through fog. Sienna blinked, unsure if she was dreaming. The room seemed to shift. Rex's bravado faltered for just a moment. Her friends, still hiding behind the pillar, froze, their smug smiles wavering. I'm fine, she whispered, though the word sounded hollow even to her. Adrian didn't press. He didn't pity her. Instead, he reached out a hand, not to rescue, but to guide. Come with me for a moment, he said, voice calm, almost gentle. Sienna hesitated, but the warmth in his eyes and the quiet conviction in his manner gave her courage she hadn't felt in weeks. She nodded as they walked. Her friends' whispers and giggles faded into the background. The room felt impossibly large and small at the same time, because for the first time that night, she wasn't alone in facing humiliation. Someone else had seen the cruelty, and more importantly, someone else was choosing to stand beside her. Adrian glanced down at her, a faint, knowing smile tugging at his lips. Don't let them define you, he murmured. For the first time since stepping into the gala, Sienna felt a flicker of hope. Someone had noticed. Someone had her back. And the balance of power had already begun to shift. Adrian guided Sienna through the gala, the crowd parting subtly as if sensing a quiet authority in his presence. The hum of conversations, laughter, and clinking glasses became background noise. Everything else faded except the prickling tension from the prank Rex had orchestrated. Sienna's friends were still hidden, but now their confidence was faltering. Their whispered giggles had gone silent. The phones in their hands wavered. Rex, who had been standing tall and mocking just moments ago, now looked smaller, exposed under the calm gaze of someone who clearly didn't tolerate cruelty. Adrian stopped near the center of the room, where the light was soft but bright enough to catch the eyes of a few attendees. He turned to Sienna, his expression steady, reassuring. "You know," he began quietly, but with enough authority that even Rex could hear. "I've followed your work for years. Your photographs of endangered wetlands. They've inspired entire campaigns, influenced conservation efforts, and even helped my company in some of our projects." Sienna blinked, stunned. Her cheeks burned, not from embarrassment this time, but from the shock of hearing her life's work recognized here, in the midst of her humiliation. He continued, voice firm but gentle. "And here you are, in the middle of a room full of people who clearly don't understand what real talent or character looks like." Sienna's friends froze completely now, realizing that the tables were shifting in real time. Rex tried to recover, opening his mouth to speak, but no words came out. He shifted awkwardly, glancing around, sensing the eyes of the crowd subtly turning toward the tension. Adrian held out his hand to Sienna. "Come," he said, and this time it wasn't just a whisper. It carried conviction, command, and the sense of someone who would protect rather than patronize. They walked toward a small stage at the edge of the room, where the gala's host had paused, sensing something unusual unfolding. Adrian raised his hand slightly, getting the room's attention without shouting. Conversations hushed. The murmurs of a few curious onlookers rippled through the crowd. "I'd like to introduce someone," Adrian said, voice calm but carrying across the room. "Mississippi's Sienna Park, one of the most talented photographers I've ever followed. Her work has changed how we see endangered ecosystems, and tonight she's here not to be mocked but to be recognized." Sienna's heart skipped. The room, which had moments ago felt suffocating, now seemed to expand. Attendees looked at her with genuine curiosity, admiration even. A few whispered to one another, clearly impressed. Her friends' faces had gone pale. Their phones fell from their hands, their smug smirks wiped away by the reality of the moment. They had intended to humiliate her, and instead, Sienna was being elevated by someone who truly understood her worth. Rex, unable to recover, muttered something under his breath and slunk toward the exit, embarrassment burning across his face. The crowd barely noticed him leave. Their attention was on Sienna, standing there, still trembling slightly but no longer with fear. Adrian stepped closer. "Tonight, you're not just a guest," he said softly, just for her ears. "You're someone whose work and dedication deserve respect. I won't let anyone, especially not people hiding behind cameras, diminish that." Sienna's throat tightened. She opened her mouth, wanted to say something. "Thank you. I don't know what to say," but the lump in her throat made words impossible. Instead, she let herself breathe, really breathe, for the first time all night. Around them, the gala continued, but the energy had shifted. People were watching, not to laugh, not to judge, but to see someone finally recognized for their talent, for her character. Adrian gave her a small, encouraging nod. "Shall we show them what real work looks like?" He whispered, a hint of a smile in his voice. And in that moment, Sienna felt something she hadn't felt in years. Validation. Not the fleeting kind from likes or shares. Not the kind from shallow friends or cruel jokes. But real, undeniable recognition from someone who saw her. Not the stumble, not the embarrassment, not the viral clip, but the person she had always been. Her friends were silenced. Rex had disappeared. And Sienna felt like she had just stepped into a new life, one where she no longer had to shrink to fit into someone else's cruel narrative. After the crowd's attention shifted and the whispers of the prank faded, Adrian guided Sienna away from the center of the gala. They moved toward a quieter corner near the rooftop balcony, where the soft glow of city lights spilled in, casting a warm halo around them. The noise of the gala, laughter, clinking glasses, conversations, became a distant hum. For the first time that night, Sienna felt like she could breathe without judgment pressing down on her chest. Adrian stopped, leaning casually against the railing. He didn't speak immediately, just looked at her, as if taking in everything. the nervous tremor in her hands, the faint flush on her cheeks, the quiet strength she carried despite the embarrassment she'd endured. "You're a lot braver than you realize," he said softly, finally breaking the silence. His voice wasn't loud, didn't demand attention. It simply filled the space in a way that made it impossible to ignore. Sienna blinked, unsure how to respond. "Brave? I don't even know what you mean," she murmured, her voice small. He shook his head slightly, a wry, knowing smile tugging at his lips. "Let me rephrase. You walked into a room full of people who were trying to make you feel small, and yet you didn't let them define you. Most people would have fled." Her throat tightened, and for a moment, she looked down, ashamed and hesitant. "I wanted to," she admitted quietly. "I really did, but I guess I didn't." Adrian nodded, his expression serious now. "Good, because no one deserves to be laughed at like that, especially not someone with your talent or your heart." Sienna looked up at him, startled. "Talent? My photography? It's nothing compared to all the amazing work out there." He raised a hand, cutting her off gently but firmly. "That's exactly the problem, isn't it? You've been measuring yourself by everyone else's standards. But your work, it's not about comparison. It's about impact. I've followed your wetland series for years. Your photos weren't just beautiful. They sparked action. They helped change policies, raise awareness. And tonight, I saw the kind of person behind those photos. Someone strong, even in moments of humiliation." Sienna felt a lump in her throat. No one had ever said anything like this to her. Not about her work, not about her character. She had spent so long hiding, thinking that the world only valued the loud, the flashy, the successful. And here was someone, not a friend, not a family member, not even a fan, but a stranger who knew her worth in ways that mattered. I don't even know what to say," she whispered. "Then don't say anything," he replied, smiling softly. "Just listen. You deserve respect, Sienna. Not mockery, not hidden cameras and cruel jokes. You deserve a room that treats you like the person you actually are, not a punchline." Tears pricked her eyes. She swallowed hard, blinking rapidly to hold them back. It's just, no one's ever looked at me like that," she admitted. "Not really. Everyone either ignores me or laughs when I stumble. Even friends sometimes." Adrian's gaze softened. He stepped slightly closer, his presence comforting without being overbearing. "That's because most people are afraid to see the real you, afraid to appreciate what they don't understand. But I see you. I see your dedication, your integrity, your talent, and your heart. All of it." Sienna felt warmth spread through her chest. For the first time, she didn't feel small. She didn't feel like the awkward, viral mishap she had become in the eyes of the world. She felt seen, really seen. Adrian glanced toward the gala, the noise behind him still faintly audible, then back at her. "Tonight, you didn't just survive a cruel joke. You reminded everyone that character matters, that talent matters, that people who live quietly, who work hard behind the scenes, deserve recognition just as much as anyone else." Her lips quivered, and she let out a shaky breath. I never expected this," she said softly. "I thought I was just another joke waiting to happen." "You're not a joke," he said firmly. "You're a person who matters. Your work matters. And tonight, you reminded me and everyone watching what courage looks like. Quiet courage. Strength under pressure. That's rare, Sienna, and it doesn't go unnoticed." For a long moment, they stood there, the city lights stretching out before them, a soft breeze carrying the distant hum of the gala. Sienna felt something shift inside her, something she hadn't felt in years. Validation, pride, a sense that her life, her work, her very presence had value beyond the cruel lens of social media and petty friends. Adrian offered a small, reassuring smile. "You deserve moments like this. Not because of luck or because someone finally noticed, but because of who you are. And if you ever doubt that, come find me. I'll remind you." Sienna let out a quiet laugh, tears spilling over at last. "Thank you," she whispered, "for seeing me, for actually seeing me." He nodded gently, The kind of nod that carried respect, admiration, and understanding. Always, he said, and in that quiet balcony corner, away from cameras, gossip, and cruelty, Sienna felt something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. Hope, real hope, and the courage to finally believe that perhaps her life, her talent, and her heart could be seen and valued exactly as they were. By the time Sienna and Adrian returned from the balcony, the gala had shifted focus back to networking and champagne flutes clinking under glittering chandeliers. But Sienna noticed something immediately. Her so-called friends were trying to slink toward her, faces plastered with fake smiles and hurried apologies. Sienna, hi. We just wanted to, one of them began, a trembling laugh betraying her nerves. Sienna stopped mid-step, her camera bag hanging at her side. She didn't move forward, didn't smile, didn't say anything. Her chest rose and fell steadily, but there was a spark in her eyes that hadn't been there an hour ago. Adrian, standing just behind her, observed silently, a calm and confident presence that seemed to widen the space between her and the approaching group. Another friend stepped forward, trying to salvage dignity. We were just, making sure everything was okay. Supporting you. Adrian's voice, low and even, cut through the air like a gentle but firm blade. Supporting her? He raised a brow, glancing from one guilty face to the next. From what I observed, your behavior was captured on the gala security feed. And if anyone is curious, the footage of your little prank attempt is time-stamped and clearly shows your intention. The friends froze. The smile they had practiced faltered. They glanced at each other, whispering, panic rising, and then realized that everyone within earshot, attendees, staff, even waiters, were now subtly watching. Adrian's calm demeanor made them shrink under the weight of truth. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't yell. He didn't humiliate them with mockery. He simply stated the facts with quiet authority. They were caught, exposed, and powerless. Would you like me to forward this footage to the gala director? He asked slowly, letting the question hang in the air. One of the friends stammered. And no, it's fine, It's not fine, Adrian interrupted, his tone mild but unyielding. You use someone else's moment, her work, her presence, her reputation, as a joke. That's not support. That's cruelty. And it's very clear who is character here tonight and who doesn't. Sienna's lips pressed together, holding back a laugh she hadn't realized was waiting. She felt light, unburdened, and almost giddy at how powerless her frenemies looked now. Their attempt at charm, their fake excuses, all crumbled under Adrian's quiet authority. The group shifted uncomfortably. One of them muttered, "We were just having fun." Adrian shook his head slowly. There's a difference between fun and humiliation. And tonight, you clearly chose the latter. But Sienna, she handled it with grace, poise, and quiet dignity. Something you might want to take notes on. The friends opened their mouths, then closed them. They had nothing left to say. The room seemed to lean in, not literally, but the social weight of the moment pressed down on them. For the first time, Sienna saw them for exactly what they were. Small, petty, and irrelevant to her world. One finally tried again, voice meek. We didn't mean. Adrian's gaze cut through, calm yet unyielding. Meaning doesn't matter. Impact does. And the impact of your actions tonight is very clear. You humiliated someone. She didn't flinch. She didn't fall. And you're standing here wishing the earth would swallow you whole. They shuffled backward, murmuring weak apologies as the crowd subtly watched. Their carefully constructed social masks had cracked. For the first time in months or maybe years, they were truly invisible compared to Sienna, whose quiet confidence now radiated like a spotlight. Sienna finally spoke, her voice steady, calm, and imbued with a newfound authority. I hope you learned something tonight. Not from the prank, not from your phones, but from me. Actions have consequences. People see more than you think. And kindness, respect, these are things you can't fake. You might want to remember that. Her friends froze again. Words faltered on their lips. They had nothing to defend themselves. And Sienna, walking back into the gala proper with Adrian at her side, felt a sense of triumph not born from anger, but from integrity. They slunk away quietly, trying to disappear into the crowd. Sienna didn't watch. She didn't need to. The humiliation was complete, not in spectacle, but in the quiet, undeniable truth. She had risen, unshaken, respected, and seen. And they had fallen, small and exposed, in front of a room that now valued her far above them. For the first time in a long time, Sienna smiled without hesitation. It wasn't a smug smile, nor one meant to wound. It was a smile of relief, vindication, and self-worth finally acknowledged. And Adrian, glancing at her with that quiet, approving nod, mirrored it perfectly. The night, once meant to humiliate her, had transformed into a testament of character, courage, and the quiet power of standing tall. After the gallery of judgment had passed and her frenemies had slinked away, Sienna felt a strange mixture of relief and disbelief. She had survived the prank, exposed the cruelty, and found herself standing taller than ever, but she also felt a flutter of uncertainty. Could this night possibly get any more surreal? Adrian guided her gently through the crowd, offering a reassuring presence that grounded her. They moved toward a quieter corner of the gala, where a large projection screen displayed images from HoltBio's recent environmental initiatives. The hum of conversation and clinking glasses faded behind them, replaced by a sense of intimacy amid the opulence. "Sienna," Adrian began, his voice low and careful, yet carrying the weight of something important. He gestured toward the screen, where stunning images of wildlife, wetlands, and lush forests glimmered. "I've been meaning to tell you your photography has been instrumental in our conservation campaigns." Sienna blinked, stunned. "Wait, really? I didn't realize anyone outside my small circle had even noticed those shots." He smiled gently, shaking his head. "Not only noticed, they've made a measurable impact. Your images inspired policy changes in local wetlands, funded restoration projects, and even helped raise awareness about endangered species. But that's only part of it." She took a deep breath, still trying to wrap her mind around it. I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything yet," Adrian replied, his eyes meeting hers, steady and sincere. "I wanted tonight to speak with you privately because I need to ask something." He paused, choosing his words carefully, letting the gravity settle. HoltBio is about to launch a global wildlife restoration initiative. We're scaling up to every continent, working with governments, local communities, and conservationists. And I want you to lead it as our chief photographer. Your work, your eye, your integrity, everything you've shown me tonight proves you're the person who can tell this story. Sienna's mouth went dry. She swallowed. The idea that someone of Adrian's stature, someone whose company shaped international conservation policy, was personally offering her a career-defining opportunity felt almost unreal. Her hands trembled slightly as she tried to articulate her disbelief. I don't even know what to say. I mean, you barely know me," she stammered. Adrian leaned slightly closer, but still maintained a respectful distance. "I've known your work for years, and tonight I learned your character. That matters far more than any resumed degree or social connection. I've seen your integrity, your talent, the way you handle challenges. Tonight, you prove something that no portfolio could ever convey, how you carry yourself in the face of cruelty and adversity. That's exactly the person I want on this project." Her chest tightened, a mixture of awe, fear, and excitement coursing through her. She had spent years doubting her value, shrinking herself to avoid attention, feeling that the world was bigger and harsher than she could handle. And yet, here was someone offering her the chance to step into the exact kind of life she had only dreamed about. Impactful, creative, meaningful. I don't know if I'm ready," she whispered, almost to herself. "I've never managed something this big. I'm just the photographer." Adrian's gaze softened. He shook his head gently, smiling with quiet reassurance. "You're more than that, and no one expects perfection. What I see is potential, passion, and someone who cares enough to do this right. That's far more valuable than anyone else's experience or title." Sienna felt tears prick at her eyes, not from sadness, but from the weight of recognition, the validation she had longed for, and the realization that someone truly believed in her. Someone of Adrian's stature, someone capable of making life-changing decisions, was trusting her with this responsibility. "Adrian, she began, voice shaking. Words failed her. She wanted to express gratitude, disbelief, excitement, fear, and hope all at once, and yet a simple thank you seemed inadequate. "Take your time," he said gently, giving her space yet never letting go of the silent conviction that she was the right person for this opportunity. "I know this is a lot, but Sienna, this isn't just a job offer. It's a chance to make a tangible difference in the world. With your vision, your passion, and your heart. And I want to make sure you're part of this story, not just as a photographer, but as a leader." Sienna exhaled slowly, letting the weight of the moment settle. For the first time in years, she felt the pull of possibility rather than fear. The world had thrown her into humiliation, doubt, and smallness. But tonight, someone had extended a hand, not to mock or belittle, but to lift her into something extraordinary. She looked at Adrian, really looked, and saw sincerity, respect, and encouragement in his eyes. And for the first time, she allowed herself to imagine stepping into a life where her work, her talent, and her passion weren't just recognized. They were celebrated, trusted, and empowered. "Okay," she said finally, her voice soft but firm. "I'll do it. I'll take it." Adrian's eyes lit up with that rare, quiet kind of joy that comes from knowing you made a difference in someone's life. "Good. Then let's change the world together," he said, offering a small nod and a reassuring smile. Sienna exhaled again, this time fully, as the gala continued around them. No longer a place of ridicule, but a launching point for a new chapter, one where her art, her courage, and her integrity would finally meet the recognition and impact they deserved. For the first time, she felt seen, not as a punchline, not as a viral mishap, but as herself, capable, worthy, and ready to make a mark on the world. The next morning, Sienna woke to the soft light filtering through her apartment window. The world outside seemed unusually still, as if it too had paused to let her process the whirlwind of the previous night. She held her phone in her hands, the screen still glowing with Adrian's message confirming her role in the HoltBio project. Her heart was racing, but it wasn't just excitement. It was a fragile mixture of hope, fear, and disbelief. For hours, she scrolled through the social media feed, hesitating with each swipe. Her friends had already posted snippets of their cruel prank before being shut down publicly, and the comments underlined an unexpected twist. The world had sided with her. People praised her resilience, her professionalism, and even shared admiration for her work as a wildlife photographer. A few comments mentioned how they had initially thought the prank was harmless, but seeing Adrian's intervention changed their perspective entirely. Sienna couldn't help the small, tentative smile that crept across her face. She had spent years shrinking herself, avoiding attention and hiding in the background. And yet, here was the world, quietly affirming what she had always hoped, that she mattered. By mid-morning, a message popped up from Adrian. "If you're free, I'd like to meet you at the lab. There's a new project I want to discuss with you in person." She hesitated, her thumb hovering over the screen. Meeting him again so soon felt intimidating, but the pull of possibility, the desire to step fully into this new chapter, overpowered the fear. She typed back, "I'll be there." The HoltBio headquarters buzzed with controlled energy when she arrived. Scientists, technicians, and conservationists moved with purpose, but Adrian greeted her first, with the same calm, grounding presence that had carried her through the gala. "Good morning, Sienna," he said, smiling. "I'm glad you came." "Good morning," she replied, a little breathless. I wasn't sure if I was ready for this, but I am." He nodded knowingly. "You don't have to have all the answers yet. Tonight was about a step forward, not the whole journey." He led her to a small conference room overlooking a vertical garden wall filled with lush plants and cascading vines. On the table were prints of her previous work, high-resolution images of wetlands, endangered species, and migratory birds. Her eyes widened as she saw them laid out in such detail, each photograph marked with notes, captions, and even projections for how they will be incorporated into HoltBio campaigns. "I want to hear your thoughts," Adrian said. "Not just about the visuals, but about the stories you want to tell. Your work isn't just decoration here. It's a bridge between humans, ecosystems, and the future we're trying to protect." Sienna swallowed, overwhelmed. She had spent years shooting in silence, often feeling her efforts were invisible. But here was someone giving her authority, respect, and responsibility, not because of popularity or connections, but because of skill, vision, and character. They spent hours discussing her approach, the narrative she wanted to craft, and the project she dreamed of starting. Adrian listened intently, occasionally leaning back, nodding thoughtfully, and asking gentle, probing questions that made her think more deeply than she ever had about her work. At one point, she mentioned a small wetland sanctuary she had been documenting, an area threatened by development but overlooked by larger conservation groups. Adrian's eyes lit up. "That's incredible," he said. "I've been trying to identify sanctuaries exactly like this for our next field campaign. If you're willing, I'd love for you to lead the documentation. Your photos could be the turning point for its protection." Sienna felt a rush of warmth, a mixture of validation and purpose. "You really want me to take the lead?" she asked softly, almost afraid to believe it. "Absolutely," Adrian replied. "I trust your vision. You've already shown what integrity looks like. Tonight, prove it more than any portfolio ever could. I want the world to see it too." For the first time in years, Sienna didn't feel the urge to hide. She felt seen, respected, and valued. And the more she spoke, shared ideas, and revealed her passion, the more she realized something else was happening. A connection was forming. It wasn't just professional. Adrian's presence was calm, non-intrusive, yet profoundly attentive. He remembered every detail she mentioned, acknowledged her concerns, and encouraged her to explore ideas without judgment. Slowly, trust seeped into Sienna's chest, filling spaces she hadn't realized had been empty for so long. By the time the meeting ended, they had not only planned the first phase of her leadership on the wildlife restoration project, but had also established a bond built on mutual respect and admiration. Adrian smiled, handing her a folder with preliminary notes and schedules. "I know this is a lot," he said, "and I don't expect perfection, but I hope you know that every step you take from here, you're not alone, not in your work, and not in the story you're telling through your lens." Sienna took the folder, her hands trembling slightly. "Thank you," she whispered, "for believing in me, for trusting me." "You've earned it," he said simply. "Now it's time to show the world what you can do, and maybe along the way, let the world see the real you too." Walking out of the building later that afternoon, Sienna felt lighter than she had in years. The fear and hesitation that clung to her like a shadow began to fade. She was stepping into her own story, one that she could shape, protect, and share, and she wasn't alone anymore. For the first time in a long time, she felt something she had forgotten existed: confidence, trust, and the exhilarating hope that connection, real connection, could be built one honest, fearless step at a time. A year had passed since the gala, the night that had turned Sienna's life upside down, and then right side up again. The memory of the prank, the embarrassment, and Adrian's quiet, commanding presence had faded into something softer, almost like a distant storm that left the air cleaner in its wake. Tonight, Sienna found herself standing at the entrance of the same gala. Only this time, the nerves were completely different. She wasn't walking in as the unsuspecting target of a cruel joke. She was walking in as the feature photographer, the woman whose images of wetlands and endangered species had captured the attention of the city and now the world. Her heart thumped with anticipation and pride, not fear. Adrian greeted her at the red carpet, his familiar calm smile reassuring her. "Ready to go?" he asked, a small sparkle of amusement in his eyes. Sienna nodded, adjusting her camera strap. "I think so. Feels surreal coming back here under such different circumstances." The ballroom was buzzing with elegance and excitement. But this time, the crowd's energy felt like an embrace instead of a weight. They cheered, applauded, and leaned forward in anticipation. Not to laugh, but to celebrate. When the MC introduced her, Sienna stepped onto the stage, the lights warm on her face, the applause ringing in her ears. "Ladies and gentlemen," the MC began, "tonight we honor someone whose vision has reshaped the way we see our planet, capturing its beauty, its fragility, and inspiring all of us to protect it. Please welcome Sienna Park." The crowd erupted, and Sienna's breath caught. Her eyes found Adrian immediately, standing near the back, a proud, steady presence. As she stepped forward to speak, Adrian's voice came across the microphone from behind her. "And I'd like to add something personal," he said, stepping into the light. The crowd hushed. Sienna isn't just a brilliant photographer. She's a woman of integrity, courage, and heart. And she's someone who has reminded me that vision, dedication, and compassion change the world. I'm proud to call her my partner in life and in mission. The words hit Sienna like sunlight through storm clouds. She looked at Adrian, feeling the full weight of his respect and care, the same kind of unwavering support he'd shown that first night. Her chest tightened with emotion, gratitude, pride, and a little disbelief all at once. Her old friends, who had once tried to humiliate her, were nowhere to be seen, and the security cameras had recorded nothing but her poise and dignity. The prank that had once threatened to define her had been erased by her talent, her courage, and the quiet strength of someone who believed in her. As the evening continued, Sienna mingled, laughed, and shared stories about her work and adventures, each conversation confirming what she had already realized. She found her place in the world. Not because she sought attention, but because she stayed true to herself. Later, as the gala began to wind down, she stepped outside onto the terrace, taking the night sky, the city lights reflecting like scattered stars. Adrian joined her, slipping an arm around her waist. "Feels good, doesn't it?" he said softly. Sienna nodded, resting her head against his shoulder. "It really does. I never imagined a year could change so much." "Sometimes," he said, "life puts you through a storm to show you exactly what you're capable of." She smiled, her eyes shining with gratitude. "And to remind you who truly has your back." He kissed the top of her head, and for the first time in years, Sienna felt completely at home in her own life. She had survived humiliation, reclaimed her dignity, and discovered that her work, her heart, and her worth had never been in question, only waiting to be recognized. As they walked back into the gala together, she glanced at the crowd, feeling the glow of accomplishment and love surrounding her. And in that moment, she knew something vital. Life had a way of coming full circle, and sometimes the ending you never saw coming was the one you'd always deserved. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that kindness, courage, and resilience always matter, don't forget to subscribe to Heartfelt Tales TV. Here, we share stories that heal, inspire, and show the beauty of the human spirit. Hit that button, stay with us, and let's discover more moments that remind us what truly matters.